Welcome to another episode of Peepaw Pod.
Glad to be here, as always.
So I want to start with a question today. How does a musician use really upbeat, urgent pop music to somehow survive profound grief?
Right.
And then completely pivot to writing a Grammy-nominated album entirely about joy?
It is a wild contradiction, honestly.
Yeah. Today's deep dive is all about Michelle Zauner and her indie pop band, Japanese BreakQuest. And, this isn't just a standard music industry success story.
No, not at all.
It's more like we're looking at a real-time emotional survival guide. I mean, we're talking about an artist using entirely different genres of music to navigate intense trauma.
Yeah, she builds whole new worlds.
Exactly, and relentlessly reinventing herself. Going from, recording lo-fi tracks in a childhood bedroom all the way to ambient video game soundtracks and international tours.
It's an incredible evolution to map out. You really don't often see an artist openly broadcast their psychological coping mechanisms with this much transparency.
I mean, how rare is that for an artist to be that transparent across different phases of their life?
Oh, it's incredibly rare.
Yeah.
Usually a band finds a winning formula and they just stick to it, right? But with Japanese BreakQuest, the sound it's strictly a utilitarian tool.
Like whatever works in the moment.
Exactly. Whatever the emotional crisis requires, that dictates the genre. But to really understand how that works, we have to look at where this all began.
Right.
Because before the Billboard charts and the Grammy nominations, we have to look at the gritty, do-it-yourself roots of the 2013 Philadelphia music scene.
Oh, man. 2013 Philly. So back then, she wasn't even making pop music at all. She was fronting this Philly-based emo band called Little Big League.
Right, which is a very different vibe.
Completely different. If you know anything about the emo genre, you know it requires just this massive amount of raw, bleeding heart energy.
Oh, yeah, you're screaming your lungs out every day.
Bearing your soul on stage. And in the middle of doing all that, she starts Japanese BreakQuest, which at the time was literally just a casual side project.
It's just a side project deeply embedded in the Tumblr-era of the internet, which, I mean, is a crucial detail here.
The Tumblr-era was unmatched.
It really was. So in 2013, she participated in this project called June. She and another musician, Rachel Gagliardi, committed to writing, recording, and posting one brand new song a day for an entire month on a Tumblr blog.
A whole song. Every single day.
Every single day. And then the very next year, in 2014, she joined a similar challenge called May 5 to 12 Songs.
Wow.
Yeah, alongside artists like Gabrielle Smith, Florist, and Frankie Cosmos. Just churning out a track every 24 hours.
That is insane to me. Just think about the friction of that process for a second.
It's tense.
Staring at a blank page is terrifying for any artist. But if you have to publish a song every single day, you don't really have the luxury of being a perfectionist.
No, you bypass the inner critic entirely.
Right. It's kind of like a painter using a daily sketch pad. It's just this low-stakes way to build raw creative muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm wondering, how did that rapid-fire creation actually prepare her for the really heavy conceptual work that was about to come?
Well, it wires the brain for immediate translation.
Yeah.
There is no overthinking. No second-guessing if a lyric is too weird or, too vulnerable.
Just put it down and move on.
Right. You move to the next day. She was building this direct, high-speed pipeline from her subconscious to her music, and she would absolutely need that pipeline to be wide open for what happened next.
Man.
But even the name of the project speaks to the low-stakes nature of those days.
The name Origin is fantastic. For anyone wondering, she literally just saw an animated GIF of a Japanese BreakQuest online.
Just a random GIF.
Literally just a GIF. And she thought the phrase, Japanese BreakQuest would sound somewhat exotic to American ears. Like it would spark curiosity about what the meal actually was.
It's so simple.
It starts with a random internet GIF and a Tumblr challenge. But this quirky side project was about to become an absolute lifeline.
Yeah, because in 2014, her life just completely unraveled. She left Philadelphia and moved back to her hometown of Eugene, Oregon. She became the primary caretaker for her mother, who had been diagnosed with cancer.
I mean, just trying to picture that shift.
It's jarring.
You go from the chaotic, creative energy of the Philly indie scene straight into the heavy, agonizingly slow reality of watching a parent decline in your childhood home.
The psychological weight of that caregiving is just immense.
It is. So how did she cope with that?
Well, to deal with the day-to-day stress of that environment, she turned back to making beats and writing songs. She described it as a need for instant gratification.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with a terminal illness, you have zero control. Everything is just deteriorating.
Wow. Yeah.
Making a piece of music gave her something she could actually control, something she could start and finish in a single day, which was a muscle she had already built during those Tumblr challenges.
And the sketch pad comes in handy. But then her mother passes away. And the coping mechanism of making music suddenly has to carry the full weight of this profound, devastating grief.
Yeah, it becomes everything.
So by 2015, she's working at an ad agency, feeling like she still had so much left to say after her emo band's final album. And that's when she records the very first Japanese breakfast studio album, Psychopomp.
Which was released in 2016. And Psychopomp is a very heavy title.
Yeah, explain that for a second.
So in mythology, a psychopomp is a creature or a spirit whose sole responsibility is to guide the souls of the dead into the afterlife.
Wow.
And the entire album is just saturated in the trauma of losing her mother.
Okay, wait, hold on. This is where I really want to push back and look at the mechanics of this, because it defies all conventional logic to me.
How so?
She names the album after Spirit of the Dead. She's actively grieving the most important person in her life, but the music itself is, it's bouncy.
It really is.
And it's categorized as lo-fi indie pop. She actively tried to make the tracks sound urgent and sonically upbeat. I mean, I'm trying to imagine putting this record on and crying while aggressively tapping my foot, you know?
Right, it's a huge contrast.
Why not just write a slow, devastating acoustic ballad? Why hide these devastating lyrics inside a catchy pop song?
Because if you only write slow, devastating ballads about a trauma that is that fresh, you run a very real risk of just drowning in it.
Oh, I see.
Music has a physiological effect on the body. An upbeat tempo acts like a heartbeat. You know, it's a literal propulsion system.
A propulsion system. I love that.
By taking these incredibly dark, grief-stricken lyrics and embedding them inside catchy pop structures, she essentially created a forward momentum life raft.
Wow.
The lyrics allowed her to express the pain, but the tempo forced her to keep moving forward. It's actually a brilliant contradiction.
It's like hiding your vegetables in a delicious smoothie. You're getting the emotional processing you need, but it's going down smooth.
Exactly. And it worked universally. I mean, that album gave us the track Everybody Wants to Love You, which Pitchfork later named one of the best songs of the entire 2010s decade.
But grief isn't static, right?
No, it constantly evolves.
Right. It doesn't stay in that raw, immediate phase forever. As she processed the initial shock, her emotional needs changed, and so did her sound. Which brings us to 2017 and her sophomore album, Soft Sounds from Another Planet.
And the title alone is a massive clue here.
We are definitely leaving the rainy, claustrophobic grief of Eugene, Oregon, and heading somewhere millions of miles away.
We really are. The lyrics on Soft Sounds are heavily focused on detachment. She's still examining her trauma, but she is actively looking for a way to create distance from it.
If Psychopomp was like an open emotional wound, Soft Sounds is her putting on a sci-fi emotional spacesuit.
A spacesuit, yeah, that's a great way to put it.
In space, there's a vacuum. Sound is muffled. There's no oxygen to fuel a fire. It feels like she used space and aliens as a buffer, giving herself this thick protective layer to talk about very human pain from a million light years away.
And sonically, that spacesuit metaphor fits perfectly, because the band expanded their sound into genres like shoegaze and chamber pop.
What does that actually sound like for someone who doesn't know shoegaze?
Shoegaze is essentially this massive swirling wall of distorted guitar noise and reverb. The vocals often sit way lower in the mix, so it is quite literally a sonic wall you can hide behind.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Combine that with chamber pop, which brings in these cinematic orchestral elements, and suddenly the emotion feels grand, sweeping, and safely removed from a tiny, lonely bedroom.
And they didn't just write sci-fi lyrics either. They actively built an entire interactive universe.
Oh yeah, the video game.
Yeah. To promote the album, she and designer Elaine Foth co-developed a browser-based video game called Japanese BreakQuest.
The storyline is so wild.
It's amazing. You play as an RPG character named Jay Brecky, and your mission is to gather a band and stop an alien invasion.
It's world building in the truest sense.
Absolutely.
And the soundtrack for this browser game wasn't just like an afterthought. The band's lead guitarist, Peter Bradley, took the actual tracks from Soft Sounds from Another Planet and completely recreated them as 8-bit MIDI versions.
So cool.
Right, those nostalgic retro video game bleeps and bloops just added another layer of protective unreality to the whole project.
How did that world building help the band transition to a larger sound, though?
Well, building that universe made room for a real-world community. By 2017, this is no longer Michelle Zauner's solo outlet. It's a full-fledged band.
Right.
You have Devin Craig on bass, Peter Bradley on guitar, Craig Hendricks on drums and keyboards. The sci-fi concept gave them this massive canvas to experiment on collaboratively.
Which sets up one of the most fascinating dilemmas an artist can face. For anyone listening right now, if you build your career, your devoted fan base, and all this critical acclaim by deeply exploring pain, grief, and trauma across 2 full albums, how do you avoid being permanently boxed in as the sad indie artist?
It's a trap so many fall into.
It is. When you get known for one thing, even if it's surviving something terrible, it becomes comfortable. It becomes your identity.
Right.
So how do you avoid that? You make a total radical pivot.
Which she did. In 2019, she publicly declared she was going to make a fun album.
Just stated it outright.
Yeah. She wanted to explore the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Inspired by artists taking massive swings, specifically citing Björk's 1997 album Homogenic, she decided she wanted to go big.
And we got Jubilee.
Exactly. The result was their 3rd studio album, released in 2021, appropriately titled Jubilee. It was explicitly and intentionally inspired by joy.
And the payoff for leaning into joy was just explosive. Jubilee was a massive commercial breakthrough. It hit number 56 on the Billboard 200, which was their first time ever charting there.
Huge milestone.
And the lead single, Be Sweet, was absolutely everywhere. It all culminated in 2 Grammy nominations, Best New Artist and Best Alternative Music Album.
I mean, that is the pinnacle of pop success right there. But, to really grasp her creative capacity, we have to look at what she was doing behind the scenes at the exact same time she was crafting these massive, joyful pop anthems.
This is the duality that absolutely blows my mind, because while she's becoming an indie pop superstar projecting pure joy outward, she is simultaneously spending years quietly composing a video game soundtrack.
Yeah, and not a quirky little browser game this time.
No, a sprawling, highly anticipated indie game called Sable.
Right. In 2018, the indie developer Shedworks sent her preliminary images of this beautiful, desolate game world and commissioned her to write the score.
And the Sable soundtrack is a radical departure, right? Because it's predominantly ambient music.
Very different from Jubilee.
Let's unpack the mechanics of that. A pop song like Be Sweet is designed to grab you by the collar and demand your attention.
Oh, totally. It's the centerpiece of the room.
But ambient music is designed to act as the wallpaper. It provides texture and mood to a landscape without ever demanding you focus on it. How do these 2 extremes actually complement each other?
Well, creating ambient music requires an entirely different psychological approach. She drew heavy inspiration from classic, immersive role-playing games. We are talking about legendary soundtracks like Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Chrono Cross.
Masterpieces.
Truly, scores that make you feel isolated but accompanied. And the game actually suffered several delays, so during the 2020 COVID-19 lockdown, she used that time to completely rework the ambient tracks after playing updated builds of the game.
So she's writing Jubilee and Sable side by side.
Exactly. Both were released in 2021.
Why put yourself through that kind of sonic whiplash?
Because they actually fuel each other. Projecting joy on a massive pop album requires an enormous amount of outward energy. It drains you.
Oh, I see.
Retreating into the meticulous, quiet, anonymous world of an ambient soundtrack is an inward motion. It's a sanctuary.
Building the background soundscapes for a digital desert gave her a place to mentally replenish the energy she needed to be a pop star.
Perfectly said.
That balance of energy gave the band unbelievable leverage. I mean, with the addition of Lauren Baba on violin and Adam Schatz on saxophone, they were no longer just making records. They were expanding into visual media, philanthropy, and global activism.
Yeah, Zauner is known for an incredibly hands-on approach to the band's visual identity. She stepped right into the director's chair.
She did. A standout example is the 2018 music video for their track Boyish. I love this video.
It's so good.
It's this hyper-specific prom-themed project where she and the band are playing a set at a high school dance. She's actually referred to this video as her magnum opus.
Which is saying something.
But when you think about it, directing is just the ultimate form of world building. She's controlling the lighting, the wardrobe, the emotional tone of the entire room.
And they didn't stop there. They also utilized their growing platform for highly specific philanthropy.
Right.
In 2022, they collaborated with the Chicago-based Goose Island Brewery to launch a limited edition lager named Be Sweet, which they sold at the Pitchfork Music Festival.
And the proceeds from that beer didn't just go to a generic charity. They went to Heart of Dinner, which is an organization supporting food-insecure elderly Asian Americans in New York City.
A very specific cause.
But connect the dots there. Her entire musical journey under this moniker was catalyzed by moving home to care for her ailing Korean mother.
Wow, yeah.
Funneling the success of her biggest pop hit into feeding elderly Asian Americans is a profoundly personal, full-circle continuation of that caregiving.
It's incredibly intentional. And they've done similar benefit projects, too, like recording a cover of the Tears for Fears classic Head Over Heels for the W Hotel's music label, with proceeds going straight to the American Civil Liberties Union.
And, looking at the sources, they also use this global reach in September 2025.
Right, they joined the No Music for Genocide boycott.
Yeah. And just to be clear for everyone listening, we are just impartially reporting what's in the source material here. We aren't endorsing or taking a stance on the politics ourselves. But the sources note that as part of this boycott, they geo-blocked their music on streaming platforms in Israel.
Exactly. Regardless of where anyone stands on the conflict itself, it just illustrates how far Japanese BreakQuest has evolved from posting low-stakes cassette tracks on Tumblr.
They are operating and making decisions on a global stage.
Which brings up the inevitable question. After you've released Grammy-nominated pop, scored a major video game, directed your own visuals, and established a philanthropic footprint, how do you possibly hit reset?
What is the next frontier?
Yeah, what do you do next?
You change your geography entirely. You force your brain into a completely unfamiliar space.
Right.
In December 2023, Zauner packed up and moved to Seoul, South Korea.
She planned a year-long immersion with two very specific goals in mind: to write a new book and a new album.
Now, interestingly, she has kept the subject matter of the upcoming book tightly under wraps. That remains a mystery based on the sources we have.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
But we have absolutely seen the musical fruits of that Korean immersion. It kicked off the 2025 era of Japanese BreakQuest.
It really did.
In March 2025, they released their fourth studio album, For Melancholy Brunettes and Sad Women.
Great title.
Isn't it? They recorded it in Los Angeles with Blake Mills producing, but the creative expansion didn't stop there.
No, that same month they contributed an original song to the A24 film Materialists.
And then in July 2025, we saw a massive personal and artistic milestone.
Yes, she featured on a track called Namgung Fifair by the band Silica Gel.
She provided vocals and lyrics for the track, and this is the crucial part. It marks the very first time she has ever written Korean lyrics for a song.
Which is huge.
Moving to a new country is one thing, but writing in a new language, what does the inclusion of Korean lyrics signal about her evolution?
I mean, if you track the overarching narrative from the suffocating grief of Psychopomp through the detached world-building of Soft Sounds into the radiant joy of Jubilee, this current era feels like an era of profound integration.
Integration.
Yeah, she is integrating her heritage, her physical location, and a new language directly into her art. It is the ultimate proof that she is never going to make the same album twice.
Because it's like forcing your brain to learn a new creative vocabulary. You are opening up emotional nuances that simply don't translate into English.
Exactly.
And that brings us right back to the tension we opened this deep dive with.
Right.
The story of Japanese BreakQuest isn't just about indie pop success. It is a masterclass in emotional alchemy. We watched an artist take the absolute deepest, darkest grief of losing a parent and run it through a pop music engine just to survive.
And when survival was secure, she transformed that energy into expansive joy.
And now into a global exploration of identity and heritage.
It's a powerful reminder that we have the agency to write our next chapter.
We really do. We don't have to be defined by the heaviest thing that has happened to us. We can change the genre of our own lives whenever we need to.
That's a great way to look at it.
I want you to think about that today. Look at the chapters of your own life. Could they be rewritten by simply changing the lens?
Yeah.
If you're stuck in a heavy chapter right now, maybe it's time to build a sci-fi spacesuit or declare your own radical pivot to joy. There's always a new creative vocabulary waiting to be learned.
Thanks for listening to People Plod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.